and continued carving 3 deep lines into his flesh, forming a Z. A single character to identify him as a prisoner at Zalindov. The wound would heal, but the scar would remain forever. Kiva worked as fast as she could and only eased her grip once the carving was complete. She repressed the urge to tell him that the worst had passed. While barely a teenager, he was still old enough to discern the truth from lies. He belonged to Zalindov now. The metal band around his wrist labeling him as inmate H67L129. There was nothing good in his future. Lying would do him no favors. After smearing Balico sap across his bleeding flesh to stave off infection, then dusting it with pepperroot ash to ease his pain, Kiva wrapped his hand in a scrap of linen. She quietly warned him to keep it dry and clean for the next 3 days, all too aware that it would be impossible if he was allocated work in the tunnels, on the farms, or in the quarry. "Hold still, I'm nearly done," Kiva said, swapping her blade for a pair of shears. They were speckled with rust, but the edges were sharp enough to cut through steel. The boy was shaking, fear dilating his pupils, his skin pale. Kiva didn't offer him any reassurances, not while the armed woman standing at the door to the infirmary watched her every move. Usually, she was given a degree of privacy, working without the added pressure of the guards' cold, keen eyes. But after the riot last week, they were on edge, monitoring everyone closely, even those like Kiva who were considered loyal to the warden of Zalindov, a traitor to her fellow prisoners, an informant, a spy. No one loathed Kiva more than she did herself, but she couldn't regret her choices, regardless of the cost. Ignoring the whimpers now coming from the boy as she moved toward his head, Kiva began to hack at his hair in short, sharp motions. She remembered her own arrival at the prison a decade earlier, the humiliating process of being stripped down, scrubbed, and shorn. She'd left the infirmary with raw skin and no hair, an itchy gray tunic, and matching pants, her only possessions. Despite all she'd been through at Zalindov, those early hours of degradation were some of the worst she could recall. Thinking about them now had her own scar giving a pang of recollected pain, drawing her eyes to the band she wore beneath it. N18K442. Her identification number was etched into the metal. A constant reminder that she was nothing and no one, that saying or doing the wrong thing, even looking at the wrong person at the wrong time, could mean her death. Zalindov showed no mercy, not even to the innocent, especially not to the innocent. Kiva had been barely 7 years old when she'd first arrived, but her age hadn't protected her from the brutality of prison life. She, more than anyone, knew that her breaths were numbered. No one survived Zalindov. It was only a matter of time before she joined the multitudes who had gone before her. She was lucky, she knew, compared to many. Those assigned to the hard labor rarely lasted 6 months, a year at most, but she'd never had to suffer through such debilitating work. In the early weeks after her arrival, Kiva had been allocated a job in the entrance block, where she'd sorted through the clothes and possessions taken from new inmates. Later, when a different position had needed filling, due to a lethal outbreak that took hundreds of lives, she was sent to the workrooms and tasked with cleaning and repairing the guards' uniforms. Her fingers had bled and blistered from the unending laundry and needlecraft, but even then, she'd had little reason to complain, comparatively. Kiva had been dreading the order for her to join the laborers, but the summons never came. Instead, after saving the life of a